Took a deep dive into YouTube, watching hours and hours of videos on tree habitats and wildlife, trying to absorb as much information as I could on restoring the wilderness and surrounding habitats. Not every video is helpful, but all the information that I can collect will help me to attain my goals of restoring the natural habitat to its fullest potential. Much of this information is not based on factual research, hence it's YouTube. Take some of the information with a grain of salt. In saying that, I extended my search to Google with specifics on what I exactly wanted. To come up with more research ideas that someone else spent years of investigating and experimenting, so I didn't have to go down that road. It's critical to get research information from forestry, habitats programs, wildlife conservation departments to get the best input that makes a positive impact on my project. I understand I'm going to make mistakes along the way. I am by no means a professional at restoring the habitat. By exploring as many options and reviewing others in action, it's going to help me get started in the right direction. Many questions come to mind with this project that I don't have the answers for. So then I dive in to search for as much information and different points of view to do my best. Keeping this in mind, I also need to consider the native species, not to introduce any unnative species that might overgrow or damage the ecosystem that is already established. I made it back out to the elevated areas next to the pine grove, cleaning up the walking trails and harvesting some much needed firewood. There's no shortage for tree fall to cut for firewood. Some not so good to burn. Try to get my hands on the hardwoods to burn. They burn much cleaner and a lot less smoke. I wanted to finish clearing the paths in the elevated area next to the pine tree grove. The wildlife don't mind the paths, they actually use them quite often. Not much human activity in these areas and the deer are already flourishing. From the trail cam views, we see that other small animals are a little scarce in these areas. Maybe with more video recording we get a better idea of which parts of the wood the smaller wildlife seems to favor. Now that we have the paths cleared out in the elevated areas next to the pine grove, probably work my way back to the rest of the dead pines and continue cleaning up all the deadfall and beetle infested trees. Also, I'll continue to build brush piles with all the debris left over for cover for the smaller game. We're about halfway through January, and this time of the year there's not much I could do to help restore the habitat. So we can clear the deadfall and the infested trees to make some improvements to the property. In the meantime, I have some blackberry plants that I'm trying to propagate and get started ahead of time for the spring. Not too sure how it's going to work out. It's all an experiment, courtesy of YouTube, of course. If it doesn't work out, I have quite a few raspberry bushes around the house that are already overgrown that I could take for transplanting, as well as a grapevine and some perennial native ferns. They're called fiddleheads, and they'll make a nice snack for the animals in the wilderness. Down in the flooded areas, I plan to get some of the native willows that have been growing for years and propagate those plants and put them along the creek banks to help stop the erosion that's caused by the flooded season. Along my favorite fishing spot would be a great place for some of the willows to create shade for the fish in the late summer. And the beavers may make a comeback with more willows around. Willows are part of a beaver's diet, as well as birch, maple, and alder. They also eat cattail succulent leaves and grasses from the pond lilies.